everybody, welcome back to Gyro Ranger, your #1 channel for ethical hacker resources and capture the flag walkthroughs. Today we're going to be looking at another box from TryHackMe called M4tr1x, Exit Denied. This box recently just came out in April, which is less than a month from when I'm recording this. And this one is rated hard. And it is actually a very hard box, very good box. Actually, I have not given this one a thumbs up. Thumbs up. So today we're going to look at this box, and the story of it, as you can read here, is basically like a little background like The Matrix. If you've watched the Matrix movie, you kind of get the idea. You're living in a simulation, and that you need to free your mind from the simulation. And it kind of reminisces like the first movie of The Matrix, dealing with Neo first meeting Trinity. And so the story goes that you receive an email, and then the email basically tells you, follow the white rabbit. Obviously, this is probably going to be a clue as we dive into this. This box was part of a prize competition during the time, but I was unaware of this box until one of my recent viewers let me know about it and said they wanted a walkthrough of it. So this is for you, and I just wanted to let you know I do watch the chat. I actually took a couple days this last week to work through it and learned a lot from it. So let's go ahead and start this room up. The first thing I always like to do when I'm about to start a new box is always enumerate the machine. We got to figure out exactly what we're working with right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a basic nmap on this machine and see exactly what ports we have to work with. And I like to run it in very verbose mode because I like to be able to see what ports are open as the machine is having an nmap ran against it. And the first thing I already do see here of interesting is that port 80 is open, which means that we have a website open on this. And it's in basic HTTP mode. So while the nmap is still running, I'm going to go ahead and go back to Firefox, and I am going to go to the IP address and see what pops up. And immediately when we're here, we see we have a web page here. It looks like a message board called the Linux Bay. So what I like to do next, and what you'll have to do on this box, is you need to enumerate the website and see exactly how many directories it possibly has by going over some lists that you may have. I usually use GoBuster, but a recent fan on our channel actually recommended for me to try FFUF, and actually like the tool a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and use that tool next to see exactly what web pages we're working with here. So as we're coming back here to go ahead and run an FFUF on the machine, another thing I forgot to mention here, and that I think is very important, is the other two ports that popped up here, which already kind of leads you to understanding how you're going to be working through this box. First and foremost, port 3306 is open, and port 3306 is usually assigned to MySQL databases. So more than likely, and you will be using on this box, is you're going to have to understand basic MySQL commands to be able to find information out. Additionally, you see port 22 here, which is SSH. This is more than likely going to be how you're going to get into the machine so that you can work through the different directories on it. So with that being said, I opened up another tab here, and we're going to go ahead and run an FFUF command. And if you've never used FFUF again or before, I'm going to go ahead and drop a link down below from this video so you can find it on GitHub and be able to download it. And on GitHub, you'll be able to learn that it's basically different methods of fuzzing different variables, either website, services, and other things. But I'll let the GitHub explain it differently. But I really do like this tool that someone recommended to me, and it does move through the lists of words, common words, medium lists, instead of GoBuster. So thank you to that fan. Additionally, as you're working through it, you're going to be looking for the different codes, 301 or 200. 200 is usually the last page it's at, and 301 is usually a parent page, and that it has further pages below it to go to. So we're going to go ahead and let this run and take a look at what is interesting on this page. Now, as FFUF is actually running and you start looking at the different pages that are popping up of interest, you're going to start seeing what I would call a red herring starting to pop up. For example, like you have this page right here called flag, and obviously we're looking for flags as we're trying to do a capture the flag. So honestly, for some fun laughs here, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the page. We're going to go back to the Linux bay here, and we're going to go ahead and go to the directory flag that's on there and take a look at it. And what you're going to see is there's a lot of these websites that are going to pop up that basically says, give up now, there is no escape from the matrix. Obviously, these are red herring websites that they've put inside that is going to try to catch your attention to go to. So again, there's another one right here called secret. And if you go to the secret one, again, give up now, there is no escape from the matrix. A lot of little red herrings there. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep looking through this. I will tell you from this box that there's a lot of good little pages here that you can find some information in. But we have to remember what we found on the front page when it gave us the description of the box. The number one topic here, as it stated, was to follow the white rabbit. So what we need to do is we're going to go back to the website here, and we're going to go back to the main page. And when you go back to the main page, what you can do is you can take a look at here and just kind of start breaking down this website a little bit more and see how much you can get in from it. And, you know, you can start looking around. You can start looking at the teams here, and you can see exactly who are the super moderators, who are the administrators. Here are the moderators. You know, you got Big Paul, Arnold Bagger, Palliser King. You have all these individuals here that we probably want to remember their names of who actually has rights on this website. And then when you go back again and you take a look at the members and you start working through, nobody has any type of pictures on their page. But if you keep going, you'll come across this user called Willis here. And Willis has a white rabbit. So that should key you on there. And additionally, if you look at it, he has about 2,200 posts. Yeah, 2,200 post count, which is ginormous compared to everybody else on here. So you click on Willis and you go to Willis's page, you can start finding out some information about Willis, thread count. You can actually go back and find out what all their posts were and their different threads. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these posts and these threads. So let's see what kind of thread this individual. Oh, and it even says right here, sorry, but no results are returned using the query information you provided. Please redefine your search terms and try again. Okay. Let's go back and let's take a look at all the posts. Yep. So this keeps coming back because we're not logged into the board. And so we need to actually be logged in as a member of this board. So my next bet would be we need to go ahead and register for this site. So let's go ahead and do a simple I agree. Let's take a look at what we got here. Create the username of Geardo. Yeah, Geardo, and we'll make the password Ranger. And we'll make this test at email.com. Because I'm guessing this website is not going to send us a confirmation message to start us. It does have a refer. You can put Willis if you want in there. And then, you know, please answer the question provided. This process is used to prevent automated processes and bots. Okay. Which animal is the Linux mascot? Okay, Tux. Penguin. All right. And no, I don't want to receive emails from administrators or private messages or alert me to anything. Everything looks good. We're going to submit the registration and you are now a member of it. And now you're in the system. So now you can take a look at all the message board that's in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back again to the members. Let's go to the second page and let's find Willis again. And let's go back and find out what posts Willis has made on this machine. And it seems he's only had one post in here on a bug bounty program. And so if we click on the thread for the bug bounty program, the message from Big Paul, and if you remember from Big Paul, let's open this up again. Big Paul, I believe, was, oops, excuse me, let's go team, actually. So Big Paul was actually one of the main administrators of this machine. So Big Paul writes a message that they're committed to protecting from cyber attacks. If there's any security holes, all you have to do is go to this page, Bug Bounty HQ, and we will attempt to resolve said issues. Please note, if the security weakness is considered critical, then please PM me or any of the mods. Do not use the above report page. And Willis did not write anything. I think that Willis was trying to get our attention and tell us that this is important. So, also, update. The page has been disabled to maintenance. But I bet we can still get into this page. So let's go ahead and grab this. And let's go to this page. And as the page loads, we should see the bug bounty report form. So as we look at the bug bounty report form, we immediately can see that we can't type anything into this page, and we can't submit or reset anything. But there is something that's supposed to be important here, supposedly from Willis, the White Rabbit. We're supposed to follow the White Rabbit. So I guess we can take a look at maybe what's behind the curtain and see if there's anything going on with this page. So if we look at the page source here, I mean, we start reading through it and we see exactly what's going on with this report form. We can see that when someone submits a report, they actually invoke an HTTP post action that will post it to a different page, a reportpanel.php page. So let's go ahead and follow the White Rabbit and go further. So we'll come here. Let's get rid of this view source. And let's see where the White Rabbit took us. And the White Rabbit actually takes us to a user bug bounty report tables here that shows everybody's reports that they have submitted. So a lot of low-hanging fruit here on different things. SQL injection, possible vulnerability in the user data. Okay. It's good to possibly know SQL injection vulnerability. Okay. I'll remember that. Remember there was SQL on this box. Some XML stuff. But I think what we need to do is we need to concentrate on some of the critical ones here. So it says right here, deleted mob post attachments can still be accessed and are improperly sanitized. That's good. So that means if we get into an administrator's account, we could possibly still access all of their attachments, even if they've tried deleting them in the message board. And then what else do we have here? Let's see if there's any other critical ones. So we've got one critical, and then, oh, here's another one right here. The login system is not using any CAPTCHA mechanism. Okay, so so a bot could run through this. And failed login timeout method. Okay, so that means we could probably brute force this, which makes it very vulnerable to password spray attacks, considering several surveys have been found that 3 in 5 online users use weak passwords, such as, and they give you a list of passwords. So what I am thinking, and I believe we need to do, is we need to use Burp Suite, and we're going to go ahead and do a cluster bomb attack. And let's go ahead and pull, at least for starters, let's pull these passwords and see if any of these passwords gets a hit on anybody. Once we're ready to conduct our Burp Suite attack on this web page, what we need to do is we need to go back to the main page. And once we're at the main page, we need to log out and get back into the login page so that we have the username and password fields available to us to try to inject something into it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pop up And I actually have a little tool that I download. I recommend everybody use if possible to be able to use for Burp Suite. I use Foxy Proxy. And so right here, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my Burp Suite Foxy Proxy. And I'm going to type in admin. I'm going to type in admin. And I'm going to go ahead and send it. And immediately, it's going to go to my Burp Suite that's running and say that it's intercepted it. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go ahead and take this interception and I'm going to go ahead and send it to Intruder. And while I'm sitting in Intruder here, I am going to set this to a cluster bomb attack. And if you've never used Burp Suite, great tool. Cluster bomb is basically going to make it to where I can create as many fields as I want here. And as long as I have lists for each field, it can fuzz and inject as much as I want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this section here. So I'm going to use the admin, the username section for field 1, and I'm going to add that section for field 2. And then I'm going to come over to payloads. And so for the payload set 1, which is our users, I have already grabbed all the users from the message board and created a simple list of them. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my desktop, and it's called the matrix users. So these are all the matrix users, or the matrix message board users. And then I'm going to go to my second area and I'm going to load shortlist. Shortlist was all the passwords that I grabbed from that message board vulnerability page. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run an attack. And I am using the community edition. So what we're going to do here, I like to do is this is going to go through and show that it was a successful submission. It's going to go through all the different users and it's going to run through all the passwords. And I'm running through a 520 passwords. So what I like to do is I like to take the length and click right there so it sorts it. And I'm looking to see if I get a different length number, which usually means that a password went through instead of coming back denied. So we're going to let this run for a little bit. And we're going to see exactly if any of the users come back of interest, and we were able to brute force the password for that username. All right, this has actually been running for a while now, and I don't want to bore everybody with waiting here forever as these run, especially on the community edition of Burp Suite as it's rolling through some of these passwords. But you can see some of these passwords are coming up right now. That it has actually brute force based off that simple list of passwords that we had go through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring your attention to 2 passwords that you're going to come up across when you use that list. And it's going to be for the user Palliser King, who's an admin, and also Arnold Bagger, who actually is also a super user administrator too. So let's go ahead and start with Palliser King. And what we're going to do is we're going to log in with Palliser King, and we're going to use his password to go into the message board and see what we can find there. So let's go back to the website here, and let's go ahead and turn our Foxy Proxy off from Burp Suite. And let's go ahead and use Palliser King. And then we're also going to use the password QWERTY that he had set there. Yeah, that's a really strong password, isn't it? And when you try logging in, you're immediately going to see that it's going to let you in to Palliser King's account. And once we're in, you can see that immediately when you come into Palliser King's account that he has one unread private message from Arnold Bagger. And if you remember, Arnold Bagger is actually one of the moderators, just like Palliser King. So let's go back here and let's take a look at here we go here. As we went through here, we already found the report panel. And then we need to be able to determine what the vulnerability is once we get into the message board. So coming back in here, you can see here, okay, not type again, okay. Nothing really important there, but it's talking about a new plugin test. So let's go to the inbox and let's see what the plugin test there. And it says, hey, James, have you finished version 3 of the Mod Manager plugin for MyBB? Can't wait to test it. Could you elaborate what it does again? Okay. Let's take a look if we have anything in the trash can, which we don't. And let's see if there's any attachments in here. And looks like there's a couple attachments on here. And let's see here. We got the cup. Okay, that's kind of cool. And then testing.zip. And it looks like this attachment doesn't exist anymore, but it does look like it did exist at this point, at some point in time. So what we're seeing here is that there was actually a mod version 3 that was going on, but we don't know exactly which mod that they were talking about. So let's go ahead and I think we found what we need for Palace or King. So let's go ahead and log out of Palace or King. And if you remember, we also had the login information for Arnold Bagger. So let's go ahead and take a look at that account. So let's go back and find out Arnold Bagger. And his password is LewisFactor05. So let's go back here. LewisFactor05. And let's log into Arnold Bagger and see what we got here. So you have an unread message from Big Paul. Okay. Let's take a look who Big Paul was again. So Big Paul is actually one of the big administrators. Oh, that's good. So let's take a look here. Let's go take a look at his emails. Here we're talking about versions again. So let you know tomorrow if we need some testing done for version 3. At the moment, there is only version 2. Okay. So let's look at his inbox and see what other messages we have here. Oh, looks like we have a few messages. See, Paul is handling it at the moment as it has some bugs. I'm trying to sort it out. It's mentioned on the phone. The new plugin we're working on should make moderating much easier for our most trusted moderators. I'll allow you and the other mods to be able to migrate to UID. Okay, so to migrate to the standard accounts through MyBB's UID and login key concepts. Okay, this is probably where we're going to be dealing with MySQL. And this way we'll be able to track user posting behaviors quicker. Okay. Okay, hey James, have you finished version 3 of the Mod Manager plugin? Okay, so coming back to TryHackMe, the thing that what is the name of that interesting plugin? Well, that should tell you exactly what you should type into there. All right, so the next question we have then is what is the name of that encrypted file that you found? Well, let's keep digging and see what we got here. So coming back. Hey, James, I tried accessing version 2 from the dev builds page, and it seems to be offline for me right now. Any ideas? Okay. So if we go back here, let's go ahead and let's follow that page here. Keep that open. And let's go to... Actually, we probably want to stay logged in as Arnold Bagger. So yeah, let's just go here. And it looks like we actually have the 3 mod managers in here and an encrypted file. Okay. So let's take a look at the different plugins here. So Mod Manager 1 pops up and says it's obsolete. Click on Mod Manager 3, it says unreleased. And then if we click on Mod Manager 2, you're going to get a lot of information here. But remember, it asks you what is the name of that encrypted file you found, and here is the encrypted file. And let's go ahead and grab that now while we can. And let's go ahead and drop that on stop. And we'll come right back to that. All right, let's read through the Mod Manager 2 here. As you're reading through the Mod Manager 2 page, you'll see pretty soon after reading into it that there is a line right here that talks about a SQL command that immediately grabs the SQL password from the p.txt file, which we just grabbed from there, the GPG file. So now we have that on the desktop. Now he's got to figure out how to use and unencrypt that file. And as you keep reading through it, we're going to go to our next question here. It says right here, interesting. I believe only the keymaker could help you crack it, just like in the Matrix. Find him. Where did he tell you to go? Well, if you keep reading through, you're not going to find any references of the keymaker. But go back to the best data table where it had all these exploits here, and we're going to page source this. And as you come through and look through it, just keep scrolling down. Whoop, you're going to come across this hidden paragraph that's actually on the page from the keymaker. The keymaker is going to leave you a message here of a bunch of different random numbers and then what looks like a slash page right here. So let's go back to TryHackMe. And says, where does he tell you to go? Well, looking at this, this looks like a page right here, and that's the answer you're looking for. So go ahead and grab that page and drop it in. And then it says, did you try cracking the file? Well, let's go to the actual desktop. And let's go ahead and take a look at that file, that GPG file. So when you take a look at this GPG file, you have to understand that you're going to have to need a key, a string key for this file to decrypt. So we need to figure out a way to possibly unencrypt this. And if you come back over here and you take a look at the address that he gave you, the keymaker gave you, and then also saying, did you try cracking the file? There's a hint there that basically says M4tr1x tools permutations is one possible solution among several as a hint. Well, that doesn't tell you much right now until you figure out what the keymaker is trying to tell you. Because remember, he's trying to send you a message here. Yes, this is a web page right here, but the key to figuring out what is going on here is actually right here in the lower quadrant. And the way to figure that out is you honestly do not know what this encryption algorithm is. So you got to figure out some clues to possibly route you the right way of what kind of decryption mechanism it is. And in this beginning right here, as you can see, you have 2 19s and 2 4s. And if you remember correctly what this is an address. So ADDRESS. Okay, so if each one of these numbers represents a letter, and that it's actually the corresponding letter of the alphabet, meaning A is 1, and D is 4, then this right here is actually what we would call an alpha 1 Z26 encoder decoder, which means the letter A is 1 and the Z is 26. So let's go ahead and delete this out, which is just what the page usually has. And let's go ahead and grab this message. Let's copy it and let's put it into the online calculator. Let's paste it in and let's decode it. And it says here, with all these different spaces, a permutation of only the English letters will open the locks. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that a little further. So a permutation of only the English letters will open the locks. Obviously, we're speaking riddles here. Let's figure out what he's trying. After we take the riddle, let's go back to the report panel here, and we're looking at the message the keymaker left for us. And if you remember, again, there was an address he left for us to go to, or just that this is an address. Obviously, no one would find this fuzzing unless we had a specific algorithm for this type of long address. So let's go ahead and copy that. And let's go here and run that page and see what pops up. And immediately we see that it is a reminiscent of the matrix rain of code in green and black, but we can see sometimes some English letters popping up inside of the matrix screen instead of all the Chinese characters. So let's see if we can't take a look at this page. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the beginning of this page and we're going to add the view page source. And let's see exactly what pops up in here and see if there's any messaging. And there is a message from the keymaker. And the keymaker says English letters are below. And if you remember back from our decryptor, a permutation of only the English letters will open the locks. All right, and then as we see here, all these Chinese letters, there's an O, there's an F, there's an X, there's a V, and there is a G in here. So what we need to do is we need to grab these letters out of here and put them into, if you remember, there's a clue right here that says the iter tools permutations. And what we're going to do is you need to build a very, very easy Python script or just any script that works from the iter tools permutations that works off of Python. And actually it'll generate a list of all the different permutations that could exist of those 5 letters. And once you get done creating that word list, I've already ran the program already, you will get a list of all the different permutations that exist out of those letters that we found mixed in with those Chinese characters. So once that's done, what we need to do is take this word list and we're going to brute force it against this GPG file. So the best thing for us to do, let's go ahead and open up a terminal and let's make it a little bigger so everybody can see what's going on here. We're going to take the GPT to John and we're going to run it against the p.text file that we have here. And we're going to rename it matrix GPG so that John can run through this. All right. And so there we go. We've got the matrix GPG there. Then once we have this GPG file here that John's run some hash against on, we're going to go ahead and run John with the word list that we have here, with this word list here on the desktop, and we're going to run it against the matrix GPG. Now I've already ran John on this before on this program, so I'm going to go ahead and run a John show on the matrix GPG. You'll see that's the password that it cracks right there. So all we have left to do now is to take this password and go into the p.txt.gpg file so we can go ahead and see what it contains. All right, now all we have left to do is to unencrypt the file. So we got a gpg-d. We're going to do it on the p.text GPG file. And the password we're going to run it against is the one we have up there. And once that's done, it gives you the password for the SQL. And that's what you need right there to be able to get into the SQL database. So all that's left to do at this point in time is to run a MySQL on it. So we're going to go into this box and we're going to use the user mod for moderators, as it talked about earlier. And we're going to look for a password. And the password we have is there. So let's make sure I type this correctly. I am betting I'm probably not, but hey, I might actually Surprise myself. And I am in. So once you have that password, you can get into the database. And then we can start doing some basic SQL commands. We can see what databases are in here. Always end with a semicolon. And we see that there is a mod manager v2 database in there. So let's go ahead and use, I am honestly not typing well today at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this. So let's use that. And once we're into the mod manager v2, we can go ahead and look at the tables. And we see we have members here. So let's go ahead and see if we can't get all of the members' information. And when that pops up, you're going to see all of the users and their login keys right here. And one of the big ones we should really start paying attention to is Black Cat. And if you remember from Black Cat is one of the super moderators. So knowing that Black Cat is one of the super moderators, I am going to grab this information and copy it. And we're going to see how we can get into this user. So someone's probably going to ask the question, how are we going to use this login key information to be able to get into Big Cat's account? Well, or Black Cat's account, excuse me. Well, one of the ways you're supposed to do it is come back here. And as we look here, we're still logged in as Arnold Bagger. And if you remember, when I was logged in as Gyro Ranger, I didn't have much options except for the basic messaging board. But if you click on here, you can see the Mod Manager plugin is working right now. And if you click on the Mod Manager CP and you click on the profile editor, you're going to see everybody pop up. And if you actually click on someone's profile and you come up here, you can see what their profile number is. So we need to find Black Cat in here. And find that we can't see anything about him because he's obviously the super moderator, but his user ID number is number 7. Okay. How does that help us? Well, if you come back to the home page for Arnold Bagger, and you go back into your user CP, and you're just basically here as Arnold Bagger, if you come into the inspect the element and we actually go to your cookies, you're going to find right here that you have a table on the My Cookie called the MyBB user. So if we take this information and I change this to a 7, which was Black Cat, and underscore, and then also add that password that we got from the MySQL database, hit enter, and then refresh the page, you will now see you are logged in as Black Cat. You are now have access to the super moderator of the messaging board and all of the attachments that this super user has access to. So once we have access to Black Cat, let's go back to TryHackMe and see what other questions are looking for. So it's going to ask us, what was the login key of Ellie? Well, we go back here to this page area here, you will find Ellie's password information right here. So you can go ahead and grab that and drop it into TryHackMe. Then the next question as we work on down is going to be, what is the name of the secret algorithm? Well, let's go back to Black Cat's account and take a look at his attachment manager. In there, you're going to find a lot of information, including a picture of a hardware token that usually deals like with a one-time password. You might see this with Duo and other verification, password verification, two-factor password verification programs. You also have a picture of a low-level SSH virtual time simulator. And you are also going to find some documentation to read on what a TOTP is, or a one-time password based off of the TOTP. And with TOTP, it means a time-based one-time password. So not only are we looking for a one-time password you may get from a dongle key like Duo, but it's also very dependent on time. And every 60 seconds, the SHA-256 hash will change. So you have a 60-second window if you're able to determine what the password is to log into this machine is. And it is SSH. Remember, from the very beginning, SSH was open. And then you also have some of the diagrams here, how to calculate it and be able to determine how to be able to get into the machine. You still have, and there, right there is the testing folder. And I believe this one does exist. So we can go ahead and download that one. Actually, I'm going to take it and put it on the desktop, easier. And then I'm also going to grab the dev tools and save these to the desktop. And when we come back over here, we can open up the testing folder, and you can see again, here's the hardware token picture that was in there. And you're going to come up with this SSH TOTP testing document. And you can see immediately you have a username on the table of the architect. And then you have 3 shared tokens. And these 3 shared tokens are very important on how to be able to determine the one-time password for SSH. All right, so now let's take a look at the dev tools. And inside the dev tools, we have 2 Python scripts. You have a time simulator client, and you have an NTP syncer. So if you take a look at the time simulator client, you can see that it has how it can determine a random hash lib from the different time zones of the different 5 countries, which, if you remember, if you read through the documentation, it's only looking through 3 countries for this password. So we've got that. And then we also have the NTP syncer, which allows you to sync with the time clock of what the IP address of the machine that's running it on. AWS, like Amazon Web Services, uses this a lot also. So the way to figure this one out, and this one took me a long time, is you have to be able to determine the right countries and the time zones, and be able to then have them sync together and determine the time or the password, and then be able to use it within that 60-second window that it gives it to you. I actually reached out to one of my ethical hackers on TryHackMe, who actually solved the box, also named Renix. And talking to him, he actually developed a script that allowed him to be able to basically brute force the SSH with random one-time passwords that his script came up with. And so I took his script after I'd already figured out the box and used it, and then I added some additional permutations inside of it, and also synced it up with the time sync also, so that you can go ahead and determine what the password is for the machine. So what you need to do, and I'm gonna post this script on my GitHub for everybody. So if you want to grab it, you can. But you need to be able to. What you have to do is you have to, for the testing, you have to make sure that the shared tokens, all 3 of them, match in here, which they all do. And then once you have that information in here, set in the web page's IP address. And what we're going to do is I'm going to pop up another terminal here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in the IP address to the machine we're trying to attack. The username is the architect. And I'm going to save this on this desktop. And we're going to call this matrix root Python. Minimize that. Bigger so everybody can see what's going on. And we're going to run a Python 3 matrix root. And we're going to sync. Now, as this is going on, one of the biggest tips I need to give everybody on this is that your machine will not do this correctly unless you set it to the proper time zone of UTC right here. So get your Linux command and run a time zone change to where it's under UTC as it's trying to brute force this. If you don't have it set to UTC, it will not work. Additionally, what you need to do is open up another tab while that's running. And what you need to do is you need to apt-get install a program called SSH pass, because the password it's going to give you is pretty long. You have a 60-second window or less to put it in. And so you need to be able to have the machine push a password in with SSHing into the architect at this IP address. So we're going to come back here, and as you can see, the program is still running, and we're still trying to get the password. Okay, so once we have the password, after running for many, many minutes on this, it does take a little while. You want to grab this password as soon as you can, drop it into your SSH pass, and then SSH as the architect, and you get into the machine. Now, again, remember, this is a 60-second window you have, or less than 60 seconds, depending when it starts. But as you can see, you are now logged into this machine as the architect, and then you can see you are under the home and the architect. And if we run an LSAL, you'll see that there's a user text there, and we can cat the user text, and that is the first flag that you're going to need once you log into this user. Well, the next password is what is the root flag. Now, as we're logged into here, you're going to be moving around here a lot, and you're going to see there's also a hello visitor there. Text, and it's going to give you this whole rundown of how people have failed to become out of the matrix, out of the simulation. So the question is exactly how are you going to find the root profile and also be able to the root password? Well, there's a program on this machine. It takes a while to find, but one way you can do it is there's actually a program in here called Pandoc. And if you run Pandoc and you run it under help, you can see that Pandoc is this program that helps you. It deals with conversion of files, but it also allows you to overwrite certain files possibly. So what you can do with Pandoc is we can go ahead and we can grab the password file and we can drop it to the location we're at right now. You should be able to see it. And what we can do then is we can go ahead and nano it, come in here, and you'll have root right here. And this is usually where the password is. And what we can do is let's go ahead and exit out of this. And we can go ahead and run an open SSL password. And let's go, and hash this. Let's go ahead and encrypt the password. Let's make it Geardo. And we'll get this text right here. So let's go ahead and copy that. Let's go back into the password file. We'll keep that as a 0, wrong area. Change out the X, drop that in there, save it, exit out of it. And then what we can do easily is we can go ahead and run pandoc again, password, and we can go ahead and tell it to go ahead and drop it into back where the real password file is. And it should go through. So if it goes through, and we know the password was, as we said earlier, Geardo, let's go ahead and change ourselves to root. And now we are root on the machine. So usually when you're root, we should be able to look at all the files we're into right there. Actually, we should be able to go to root and then LSAL everything there. And we should see something here, usually for most boxes, but we're not going to find anything. So you're going to dig through this machine and you're going to start looking around for certain areas, and you're going to find a file at some point, and that is actually going to be in the etc directory. And if you look in that area, once you run an LSAL on the etc file directory, you're going to come across a file that's going to catch your attention right here. That's going to have a -- space dash unrecognized characters for root.py. And these unrecognized characters right here are going to cause it to where you can't cat this file. Because if you try catting this file, nothing's going to happen from it. You can't even Python 3 this file. So if you Google around, you try figuring out how to run a program, run a Python file that has these characters on it, the best way to do it is to run a find-name and then execute a Python 3 on that program. And when you run it, it's going to start loading, and it's going to say entering or exiting the matrix, entering the real world. Please wait. And so we're going to let this run right here. And as it gets closer to finishing, oh, the wait. Morpheus, welcome to the real world now. Let's begin your real training. And here is your root flag. So that will be your root flag. Now remember, there's also the ACP flag we got to find. So to find the ACP flag, we're going to go back in here. And let's go ahead and LSAL again, the etc. And let's take a look at what other txt files exist here. And you're going to see there is a text file in here called bigpaul.txt. So let's go ahead and cat Big Pauly here. Open it up. Big Paul equals I love my wife and girlfriend 022366. And the ACP pin is right here. Go ahead and grab that ACP pin. Drop it in. And then we need to find what is the web flag. So once you log in with Big Paul and the ACP pin, you should be able to find the web flag. Now, another way that you can find the web flag is you can run a strings on the location that the web login is at, which is the data cache. And if you run a strings on it and you go all the way through, you'll come down to, again, where I love my girlfriend, and then it's going to give you what the web flag is with a winky face at the end. So that's your web flag. Type in your web flag, and that's the box. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's kind of one of the longer ones. This is a very difficult and it is a hard box on TryHackMe. I enjoyed it a lot. It took me actually a couple days to working through it diligently and talking to a couple friends to get through it. But I had a good experience with it. I hope you have some fun with it. Take this video and hopefully you guys learn some good techniques out of it, and that you get some good ideas of how to be able to work some of the future boxes and TryHackMe. So from there, thanks for watching this video. More future videos to come. Please let me know if any of you guys want me to take a look at any boxes. Love the responses in the comments. And from that point, so with that, we're going to go ahead and close out this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you guys really enjoy watching these videos, please subscribe and hit that bell for any alerts so you'll be alerted when I work on future other videos. And with that, I hope to see you all in the next video. From Gyro Ranger, remember, stay safe, stay secure.